welcome. I'm Lily, this is Legit Nutrition Hawaii, and I am asked over and over and over if I'm a raw foodist and my beliefs about the raw food diet, and if I've ever eaten a fully raw diet, if I do raw till 4, what do I do? When I first went vegan back in 2009, I switched to a 100% raw food diet, and I did that for health purposes. At the time, I was the produce manager of an organic store in New Zealand, so I literally had access to like the best organic produce in the world. And because of that, I ate really, really, really well. And my health responded really, really, really well. I had a huge improvement in the symptoms of hypothyroid and adrenal fatigue, but I do admit that even during that period of time when I was a 100% raw foodist, there were times when I felt, spaced out, like there was something going on with my blood sugar and my electrolytes that I just couldn't manage on a raw food diet. I also noticed, and this was especially the case after I left my produce manager job, that my energy was low. It was hard for me to get enough calories, to just like physically eat enough calories every day to keep my energy up. And part of that I do believe was because I was ill and still recovering, but my energy wasn't as good. And my ability to do strenuous exercise was definitely lower than it is now. And as a raw foodist, I think I was about like 10 pounds lighter than I am now, although I do not think I was leaner, because at this point my muscle mass is quite a bit more significant than it used to be, especially as a raw foodist, because I was doing like no weight training. So I do believe that I'm actually leaner now, have more muscle mass, and feel better now as a person who just eats like a cooked, varied, whole food, plant-based, some raw food type of diet than I did when I was doing 100% raw foods. And when I did start to come away from the raw food diet, it wasn't done as a conscious thing. It was like I had been having cravings the entire time I was doing 100% raw. I really, really wanted cooked foods the whole time, and I kept waiting for those cravings to go away, and they never did, and slowly I started, indulging in those cravings a little bit more and more. And in order to be a 100% raw foodist, it's like you really have to believe that this is the right thing to do, and cooked food is poison, and sodium is incredibly toxic. And so as I started to like give in and eat more cooked food, it was incredibly guilt-inducing. So when I started eating cooked food again, or shall we say uncontrollably binging on cooked food, I felt really, really, really guilty. But eventually though, I did give up and let go of even the slightest intention to eat a 100% raw, fully raw, or even like raw till 4 diet. Nowadays, I just eat what I want when I want. I always keep it vegan, and I'm mindful to keep my fat calories low, but other than that, I try to be flexible with my diet. So, now that we have that super long intro, the reasons that I gave up the fully raw diet are as follows. The time investment. So I totally believe that we as a species should be investing quite a bit of time into sourcing and preparing and eating our healthy food. But on a completely raw diet, once I had left my produce manager's job, the amount of time that I spent trying to find and trying to afford really good quality organic produce was huge. I spent so much time worrying about where my food was going to come from and trying to find it and trying to afford a variety of food, and it was just so strenuous. And it took up like a huge amount of my time, and trying to figure out how to like buy enough foods that I have enough to eat, but not buy too much so that my food doesn't go bad, because like it's not rice, it molds. And also like the sheer amount of time that it takes to physically consume 3,500 calories of raw fruits and vegetables is ridiculous. Chew fatigue is a real thing. I can't chew anymore. I just can't. The next reason was financials. I literally could not afford fresh fruits and vegetables in every situation. Sure, if I was at home and I had my like 2 40-pound boxes of bananas that cost me $55 each, I might be able to, squeak by. But no one can survive on just bananas. Like, you're gonna get bad nutrient deficiencies with that. If I was out and about, or God forbid, traveling in an airport, literally the only options were, to buy like 6 $12 pints of freshly squeezed orange juice, 18 $16 salads so that I could pile them together and get enough food for myself. And like, that's just not practical. You go and you spend like $6 on a fruit cup and it's this big and it has like 7 calories, and that's not okay. Especially when they're like, you can go get a $2 side of rice, you know, $4 worth of rice and you're good. I did manage to eat essentially completely raw on a train trip across the United States, but literally half my luggage was food. And we stopped in Chicago and I had to like hustle 2 miles to the Whole Foods and back. It's fucking dedication. Also, I moved to Hawaii for a reason. And people ask me all the time, they're like, hey, why did you move here? And I'm like, fruit! And they're like, no, really, why? And I'm like, literally, I moved here because there was like fresh, abundant tropical fruit all year long. I'll grow some bananas, or I'll find bananas and fruit on the side of the road and I'll just be able to pick it and eat it, and that's fine. But that actually like doesn't exist. And I thought bananas in New Zealand were expensive. Bananas here are more expensive than they were in New Zealand. How is that possible? Luckily, it's taken me like 3 years to find good sources of actual trustworthy people who have like organic bananas, but they're unreliable and they're pretty damn expensive. And yes, I'm growing bananas in my yard, but do you know how many banana trees you have to like provide you with 30 to 50 pounds of bananas every week? It's a lot, and my boyfriend won't let me convert the entire yard into a banana orchard. I asked. He said no. The next reason I stopped eating a 100% raw diet is the social alienation. I got kind of tired of being the, oh, I'll just have some lemon water girl. And it's not because I don't enjoy lemon water, like that's fine, especially if I ate before I went out. I don't need to eat, that's fine. But the fact is that it really, really, really bothers other people when you don't eat and they're eating. And people just can't let it go. They cannot let it go. It also really limited my dating pool. And before you say, well, Lily, you could have just dated raw vegan men, let me stop you there. How about you try dating raw vegan men and tell me how that goes, especially the ones in Hawaii. Thank you. The fourth reason that I gave up my ideation of a raw diet is that I researched it and like it's actually not natural for humans. When I first learned about the 80-10-10 diet and I read, you know, Dr. Douglas Graham's book, I was like, hell yeah! We evolved eating fruit. Like, that's where we came from. Fruit is God's perfect food. Like, look at the banana. Perfect food. It even fits in your handwriting. But there were always really valid points that I had to ignore in order to believe that. Wild fruits are very, very different from the hybridized, cultivated fruits that we have nowadays. Even the wild banana, like, you go and you crack it open and it's full of seed, there's not a lot of flesh, it would not be pleasurable to eat. Also, you go out and you taste raw fruits, and it's like, they're not as sweet, there's not as much flesh, they're like sour and astringent, and once they are ripe, generally speaking, they've already been picked at by birds and eaten by frickin' maggots. And then how are we supposed to get it? Because I don't know if you guys have seen a wild mango tree recently, but they are frickin' huge. And if you think, oh well, just wait until the fruit drops. Well, when the fruit drops, it's been eaten by birds, it's full of maggots, and it's practically alcoholic, so I'm gonna have to call bullshit on that one. You know, humans, we evolved from arboreal species. Like, we came down out of the trees, so I can't imagine that our primary source of calories would still be in trees. And sure, we created tools, but I don't remember seeing any 35-foot-long fossilized mango pickers. So yes, I definitely do not doubt that human beings evolved with fruit, wild fruits, as, you know, potentially a major source of calories. It was definitely part of our diet. Was our diet strictly based on raw fruit and vegetables? I don't think so. I honestly don't think it's possible for us to get enough calories from wild fruits and vegetables. If you want more information about the theories of evolution that, you know, I learned about, a really great resource is a book called Powered by Plants by Don Matez. It is available on Amazon, and it's a really thoroughly researched, good, realistic read. And long story short, the consensus is that human beings evolved eating probably starchy tubers that are found abundantly on the African savanna. And due to the huge explosion in brain size that we saw in proto-humans, when they discovered fire, those tubers were probably cooked for ease of ingestion and caloric absorption. So it looks like we're probably fruit and sweet potato and vegetable eaters who probably did consume some animal foods from time to time. Okay, so like fire and cooking shaped human evolution. I see no reason to fight that. The next reason I gave up a fully raw diet was nutrition. The more I learn about nutrition, the more I realize that it is absolutely vital to consume a huge variety of whole plant foods. And it can be challenging on a diet of all raw fruits and vegetables, especially when they're hybridized and super fucking expensive, to get all of that in. Like, it's a challenge. You have to plan it quite meticulously, in my experience. I hold this belief. It is a belief that is held by every reasonable, thoughtful dietary researcher and nutritionist that I've ever come about. Like, you need a wide variety of cooked and raw whole plant foods. And I know that I feel better when I eat that wide variety of foods that are both cooked and raw. Nobody needs to get dogmatic about it. A really important part of my giving up a raw food diet was comfort. And I say that now, and I still hear in my head like, you stupid weak bitch, you should be strong enough to not need cooked food as a crutch. Let's just be real. Cooked foods are comforting, they're soothing, and these feelings are a complicated mixture of biochemistry and culture, and it has been created over tens of thousands of years. You know, ever since the advent of fire, we've been cooking food and we've been sitting around that fire with our family units, and the fire provided protection from predators. Cooked food is part of a very comforting dynamic. And to describe the satiety and comfort that's associated with the consumption of cooked food as an addiction, I think is really unfair and unrealistic. Cooking food is a major behavior that led to the synthesis of our species. It's not unnatural. We're supposed to be comforted by warm food. It's our biology. Is cooked food capable of numbing us out, you know? Yes, I do believe it is, but I also don't believe that that's necessarily a bad thing. We live in very stressful, fast-paced cultures, and coming home at the end of the day and having a nice, you know, bowl of cooked sweet potatoes and rice with some beans and veggies, and taking the edge off our day mindfully and with healthy foods isn't a harmful thing. If I had to be fully present for every single feeling that I feel on a daily basis, especially as a vegan when I'm going on social media, reading all of these horrible things that are going on in the world, if I can't have a bowl of brown rice and try to soothe myself, I'm gonna turn into a homicidal maniac. The next reason why I gave up fully raw food was the frickin' temperature. It's not that big of a deal here in Hawaii. Try eating a completely raw diet off the equator. It's not happening. And try being like an eco-conscious, budgeted person who's trying to be austere with their eating practices and actually get stoked about like having a cold banana smoothie for breakfast and a cold plate of oranges for lunch and a cold salad for dinner. It is not pleasant. I remember when I lived in Washington, my lips and fingers would turn blue after I ate my raw food meal. And I look back and I'm like, if I had just like given in to my cravings and my cooked food addiction and eaten like some frickin' hot potato soup, I might not have been such a goddamn basket case. It's such a waste of life and potatoes. So another reason why I gave up the whole raw food thing was, you know, I just got like fatigued from living in temptation all the time. You know, vegan, standard vegan, like I can easily maintain that. I can veganize virtually every recipe because I'm a badass in the kitchen. But raw food is a whole other level. Don't fucking tell me that noodles made out of zucchini are the same as lo mein. Zucchini lasagna is nice, but some like actual lasagna noodles is nicer. And it's like, you know, I was trying to live in the real world. Walk by restaurants all the time, you like get assaulted by the smell of delicious, fatty, gross food. And it's like you're calorie deprived and cold and you just want to eat it. And then, you know, every single one of my boyfriends ate cooked food. Most of them weren't even vegan fuckers. Again, I'm not dating raw foodist men. I'm not doing it. And then, you know, like all the roommates I had would be cooking cooked food all the time, and I'm sitting there trying to get psyched up about my like cold unsalted kale salad. And it's like I could do that for a period of time, but at some point I reached a limit. And I just couldn't resist the temptation anymore. Like I wanted a bowl of pasta with marinara sauce on it. That doesn't make me a bad person. I remember being on 30 Bananas a Day, and there was this girl on there, and like I really liked her. We were good like internet friends, and she posted this, and she's like, oh my god, I can't stop eating burritos. I've been 100% raw for like a year, and then I tasted this burrito and it's so good, and it's been like 4 days now, and I'm eating like 3 burritos a day and I can't stop myself. Oh my god, help me. And I remember thinking like, oh, she didn't have any willpower. She was weak, you know? And then I remember I ate like a piece of bread after 9 months as a raw foodist, and it was like shitty bread from Safeway. You know, it's vegan, but whatever. And I taste it. Oh my god! It's so good! And I ate an entire loaf of bread every day for weeks. I couldn't stop myself. It was too good. And before you say, well, Lily, you could have gotten rid of the temptation and moved to a raw foodist community, I'm gonna have to stop you there. I did. I tried that. I moved to a raw foodist community in Hawaii. It was supposed to be great. I have some stories. Oh, I have some stories. I'm not living in a fucking raw foodist community. You can do it if you want to. I'm not. So my last reason for giving up the raw food thing was just ease. I was a lot more idealistic in my younger years, as young people tend to be, and I was willing to commit a lot more time and effort into what I thought was, you know, right or the best. And I was really dismissive of other people when they were like, oh, well, it's too hard. It's too hard. And I was like, too hard? What are you talking about? Just get rid of your kids and sell your house and it'll be super easy. Unrealistic. I love my idealistic self. I need my idealistic self. She's a really beautiful, albeit kind of stupid person. Naive. Not stupid. But the older that I get, the less time and the less energy I have for pursuing realistically ridiculous ideals that I set up in my own head. Right now, I'm like maxed out on how much effort I can put into my diet. And that's eating a whole food, plant-based, nice variety diet. And it's like I'm providing that for myself and a family of 4. That is as much as I can do. If I tried to take it a step further and do all raw food, I would have to quit my job. And I would probably need an illegal nanny to help me. I don't think I would be able to pay her. So it's not gonna work. So ease feels the best for me at this point. So that is it for today. Please feel free to comment below with your own opinions or experiences of raw food diets. I'm sure we have some good stories to tell. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time, make better choices for yourself. Maybe eat some rice and don't freak out about it. And take really, really, really good care. I will see you soon.